Right, well, another disappointing result, another set of drop points against a relegation team. Why did it all go wrong today then? Today I'm joined by Isaac and Dec. So, boys, firstly, welcome. And where did it all go wrong for United today?
Who's going first?
I'll let you go first, man.
Oh, nice one. I don't have anything to say. No, it went wrong in a lot of places. You know, you look at the defence, they've just got no confidence. I mean, David De Gea is getting stick week in, week out of people like Sky Sports and everyone on Twitter, but he performed well better than probably anyone really in that back four today. Lindelof was absolutely weak. Maguire, made a few decent runs, but I mean, what's that guy's name that plays up front for West Brom? Is it Diagana or something like that? Yeah. He should have. If that was me playing, I would have scored that. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how he does not put that away. That's like Maguire's 6'4", built like me but out of muscle, and he's getting filled in by their striker. I thought it was an embarrassing performance. I mean, people say I actually agreed with what Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank said at half time. I don't think it was really a foul on Lindelof. It happened so fast. If you just see the picture of that, it looks like it is, but it happened so quickly. I just don't think anything. I think you're clutching at straws. Going forward, we were absolutely awful. We need to sign Jack Grealish or Jadon Sancho. We have to start sustaining attacks. Every time we get into the wide areas, we're just rushing it. We just calm down. I think you've seen Ollie at like the 83rd minute saying, "Look, calm down, play your football." Why couldn't we play? I know we were playing against 10 men, and the pressure was off because we were like 4-0 up. But the way we carved open Southampton, who were a compact team, even though they had 10 men. You know what I mean? We were passing it side to side. We were being really patient. We were waiting for things to open up. Why couldn't we do that against the West Brom side, who's arguably 11 men, aren't as good man for man as 10 men of Southampton? Why couldn't we play like that? We've just got no sustaining of attacks, really. It's just a shambles. Bruno Fernandes is in his own half the time trying to progress the ball. We need a centre defensive midfielder as well. I'm just at a loss. I'm just at a loss. Dec and Isaac, I'm just at a loss. I'll pass it over to Isaac now.
Isaac, to you and anyone in the comments, firstly, where did it go wrong? And secondly, is Grealish or Jadon Sancho the way we solve that problem?
Well, honestly, I think a big part of our problem was honestly the midfield today. And I don't want to lay into Fred or McTominay. I like them as players, but we lacked a proper ball progressor in the midfield that wasn't Bruno. I mean, for most of the time, our progression from deep was coming from Maguire. It was pretty ridiculous. He was just running. He was making all the runs forward from deep, all the passes. I thought Fred just generally was pretty crap. In all honesty,
Fred was terrible.
I do agree on the Sancho point, though. I think having someone out wide that can create chances would be a big plus. And I'm not saying that Rashford can't do that, but I don't know if he can be relied on to consistently do it. Sancho's much more consistently shown that he can do it, and that'd be a big plus for our team, I think.
Sancho is a much better creator than Rashford.
Oh yeah, he's a much better creator than pretty much most wide players in world football.
Oh yeah, Sancho's an elite creator, no mistake about it. All About Football says Pogba was a big miss. Yeah, I mean the one thing that every one of us has said so far, midfield we had massive problems. We couldn't move the ball forward, and when you haven't got Pogba,
Matic was a big miss.
Yeah, what are you saying, Dec?
I said Matic was even a big miss today.
Yep. Yeah, I had Matic in my starting prediction because I thought he had to play because, I mean, he helps us stop it getting really stretched, sits back, and he can actually move the ball forwards. Fred runs around, but that's about it. I don't know what the point of playing Fred today was. I have no idea. And he was absolutely awful again. Pogba was a huge miss, but we really need a defensive mid who can move the ball. All About Football says not Grealish and Sancho. What can solve is like a Ramos and Koundé and then Rice. I mean, get Koundé in, and I guarantee he wouldn't get bullied as bad as Lindelof did.
I'm not sure about Koundé.
I'm massively sure about Koundé. Massively sure about Koundé.
I just saw him. I mean, he's a great player, but I'm not sure he's not going to get bullied like Lindelof does. I mean, I honestly have to disagree with you that I think it was a foul on Lindelof, the first goal. I think he had his hand across his face. He has his arm on Lindelof's head as he's jumping for the ball. It's pretty much impossible for Lindelof to do much there. Yeah, he should be stronger. I think by the there probably doesn't get bullied as easily, but I think it should have been disallowed. But
Yeah,
more
I
generally,
think it
Lindelof
was a
was
foul.
poor today. More generally, Lindelof was poor today. I have to agree. He was definitely the weak point in our centre back pairing.
Yeah, agreed. Now, All About Football says, obviously he mentions Declan Rice. We'll come back to the defensive midfield point in a minute. Would you rather get centre-back or Sancho? To be honest, I think at this
Sancho.
point you need both.
Sancho.
I think the only reason why Sancho, and this is why I know Isaac will absolutely disagree with me, but everyone that's listened to this show when I've been on it has known how much I like Martial, and I'll die on the Martial hill. The reason why Martial has been so good, and the reason why I actually think Cavani has had less of an impact when we play this way, because we're trying to get the ball out and we just haven't got the players really. I know Rashford played a few good balls in today, but we play so narrow because we don't have a creative player on the width. So that's why Martial became so important, of holding that ball up and linking the play, almost like what the Scousers thought Firmino actually was when he wasn't. He's just shite. But the ball is just like a backstop. You pass the ball to him, he holds it up, and the players run literally still just as narrow, but they just run beyond him. And we haven't got a player that we can stick it out wide to beat a man, get a ball in properly. And that's why we need Jadon Sancho. I think we have a lot less problems, even dealing with attacks. If we've got an attack that can sustain attacks, the more time you've got with the ball, the less the opponent has, the less the opponent has a chance to score. You know what I mean? And I think Jadon Sancho is a much more important signing. But the most important signing for me is probably a defensive midfielder.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
Lindelof wants to know why we need a new CB. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll come back to this.
They're both not good enough, though. They're both not good enough. Maguire's not good enough.
Huge disagree on that.
Not good
Huge
enough.
disagree on that.
I think Maguire
hugely disagree on that. I think Maguire is definitely good enough.
If you think Maguire's good enough, then you should think that McTominay's we're not going to get their centre midfielder than McTominay ever. That's the level he is. McTominay is the Maguire of centre midfielders.
No, he really is not. I'm sorry. He
is.
In the first half today, Maguire was doing Fred's job of getting the ball forward. He was doing Martial's job of being a threat on the wing.
I'm not saying he's a bad player. But when you're talking about Ramos's and what Jules Koundé can turn into, Jules Koundé now is a better player than Maguire ever will be. Maguire's what, 27, 28?
Maguire's got limitations. Yeah, he's not fast, but he's strong.
Is he bad? No, he's not bad whatsoever. He's a top six, maybe. He is, yeah. So's Luke Shaw, though. But
great ball.
So's Luke Shaw.
No, but Luke Shaw's a great fullback. Luke Shaw's, I think, been one of the best left backs in the league this season. I don't think that's controversial.
In the world, maybe even.
Yeah. I don't think that's controversial. But what I'm saying is, I mean, honestly, I think going back to your point about defensive midfielders, I think a huge part of the reason why people think our centre backs are so crap is because we don't have a proper defensive midfielder protecting them. I mean, people go on about City, right, and how people talk about City's defence being improved by Ruben Dias, and I agree. Ruben Dias has improvement, but another part of the reason why City have improved so much is because they're giving their defenders a lot less to do. Like Pep has changed their system up. Compactness has become a lot more important for City this season. They play a lot more compact, and also Rodri has stepped up his performances quite heavily as well. And so that means that their centre backs are having a lot less to do. And I agree that Ruben Dias has also brought in an improvement. He's a great defender. Don't get me wrong. But like, I'm probably going to annoy a lot of fans here. I think if you put Maguire in that City team, it wouldn't get much worse.
I think he's better than John Stones.
Definitely, but he's not going to protect it. So I mean,
but my point is that people say, we need to replace Lindelof. We have to replace Lindelof. I don't think there's that much of a difference, and it's not like we're comparing, a Sunday League player to, Ramos. It literally is maybe on a different day a level. Like if you send Maguire and Lindelof to the La Liga, Lindelof looks like the best player in the world.
Oh, he could do what PK's done easily. He could be the best player in the Liga but the best centre back in the Liga for a decade, probably easily.
Or if you send him to Syria, he'd do the same. But I just think there's not that much in it, and I just think he's not that good. He's like a third choice United centre back. He's that's what I think he is. Like he's just not that good. If we go from the likes of if you're going to go from the likes of Steve Bruce, Ronnie Johnson, Jaap Stam, Vidic, Ferdinand, Bruce, Pallister, you're going to go from all that to Harry Maguire. He's not in the same league. He's not in the same breath. And there are players that we can look at that can become that level. Why are we sticking with mediocre and saying Harry Maguire has to be the player that we're persisting with? We paid £80 million for him. I know we're not going to get rid of him, but I just think I just don't like him.
If you're going to replace.
Yeah, go on,
Cam. Now you go on, man.
You know what the problem with Maguire is for me right now? He's been asked to play a role that he's not naturally good at. He's not naturally the aggressive one, but because Lindelof's also like a calm, composed sweeper, Maguire's been asked to be really aggressive, which is not what he's good at. If you get someone alongside him who's a stopper, Eric Bailly, he goes out and confronts people in the channels. If he fucks it up, if he screws it up, Maguire can cover and sweep behind him. Whereas, get someone like Koundé alongside, he can do what Bailly does and defend better, be a bit more aggressive, and then Maguire looks 10 times better. We're just not set up for Harry Maguire. Get a defensive mid as well.
I disagree with that as well, to be honest. I think Maguire is the natural aggressor, but I'd say
I agree with Isaac. Actually, I just
think our big problem is that I'm not laying into Scott McTominay or Fred here. I think they're good players in their own right, but we don't have a natural defensive midfielder protecting either of our centre backs. I think there's stats that show our centre-backs have been two of the busiest centre-backs in the league this season. They're having to do a lot of defending. And when you do that, when that is the case, then you're going to make mistakes and you're going to be made to look crap. And the other thing I'd say, I can't blame him for today's performance. De Gea was honestly really good today. Yeah, I think he had a great game. But throughout the wider season, De Gea has been iffy at best.
Yeah,
I disagree on that though. I think he's had 2 games in a row where he's had 2 bad mistakes, and that's almost overshadowed the first half of the season where actually he was pretty good, and some saves he made looked like he was actually back to the old Dave that we know and love. I personally think he's had actually a great season so far. That's been marred by 2 mistakes really. The Everton mistake, which is not really a mistake, he just didn't get off his line, and the Sheffield United one where he got fouled.
Yeah, I don't think he's been awful. I can't agree that he's been great. I think he's just been fine. I think again, statistically, I don't think his shot stopping is that much better than average for a Prem keeper this season.
His 1v1 ability's been much worse than average for a Premier League keeper this season. So that's definitely an area to improve on. Now, look, a lot of our problems seem to be stemming from midfield and the fact we can't keep the ball. And if you can't keep the ball, you're always going to have a problem. The Man United man says we didn't draw because of our centre-halves. Yes, the first I understand, but from the midfield, we were crap. Yeah, you're not wrong. The midfield was a massive part of the problem. Here, All About Football says Cavani had no service. Bruno was playing too deep. Shaw and Wan-Bissaka were average. McFred sideways passes, that's all. And Martial was anonymous. Well, yeah, Bruno had to come deep because McFred couldn't get the ball forward. Harry Maguire was having to constantly go forward to try and do Fred's job because he couldn't do it. The fullbacks couldn't really do too much because West Ham was sitting deep. The wingers weren't offering anything. There was no movement from the players in front of them. It was terrible all over the pitch. And we couldn't keep the ball. And you saw what happened. We ended up putting pressure on ourselves and giving our centre back.
I will go back to Dec's point about Martial though. I think having him up front instead of Cavani today could have been a plus for us, because the West Brom defence. I'm not, again. I don't think Cavani is a bad player at all, but the West Brom defence was not being pulled out of position at all. And one thing I will credit Martial this season, which I don't think he is getting enough credit for, is that when he is up front, he does move into channels. He does pull defenders around. I think a lot of the time, I think a lot of the problems with Martial up front do sometimes stem from what is going on around him. I'd like to see when Martial makes those runs into the channels. I'd like to see maybe Rashford push on beyond him. And I think today maybe that could have offered more. I mean, a big problem with Cavani today was we weren't crossing the ball into him enough. He's great in the air. He's a really good aerial threat, and he just was not. We looked really reluctant to cross first time.
The problem I've got with
you're crossing to a team with 10 players in their own box. I mean, it's always going to be difficult, even if you've got someone with the movement of Cavani. But for me, Martial, he didn't do anything on the wing, and it's just really frustrating watching him and Rashford because they're both brain dead at times. And the problem is, if you can't trust the ball to come forward from the midfield, Bruno's dropping deeper. When Bruno drops deeper, the forwards in front of him stop making any runs. So all of a sudden, you go from then there being a bit of space in behind, even when West Brom do push up their back four. There's a bit of space there, but no one's going into it. So the game's compact the whole time. We didn't do enough to sort of try and stretch out their defence.
I totally agree that, and I'm Martial's biggest fan probably, apart from Ricky. That he doesn't move enough. I don't mean off the ball. I mean, not sorry. I don't mean like defensively. I think he does a good defensive shift sometimes, and he doesn't get noted. But today, I was as someone who I know you might not be able to believe me. Someone who played striker, I was crying for the movement. Where is the movement? Zero movement. That's how much there was. Biggest fan. But my point comes to what that commenter said. I can't remember who said it. Cavani got no service today. Cavani's not going to get anywhere near the level of hate of Martial has in the past season. For the same reasons why Cavani had no service today. Well, it's a little bit different, but it's the same reason why Martial was crying with no service. If you look at that Everton game earlier in the season, when we won 3-1 at Goodison, Martial didn't do much. I think he got unlucky, and I think he missed like a good chance actually. But he had really physical centre backs behind him. He had no one really, because Bruno Fernandes isn't in the 10's pocket anymore because he's in his own half trying to progress the ball. No one's in that 10 pocket. Basically, it's up to Martial to link midfield and attack and also try and score himself. It's an impossible job for any striker when we've got no one that can progress the ball, whether that's from deep like a Declan Rice can, or an Nemanja Matic or a Paul Pogba can, or if it's from out wide from like a Sancho to hold the ball and sustain attacks to allow, if Bruno has to progress the ball, to allow Bruno to push up into that 10 pocket to then create something for Martial. And it's the same reason why Cavani's getting no service now. Is basically, we're not putting crosses in, but we still can't sustain the attacks to put crosses in. Luke Shaw's managed to I don't know how he even got that cross in for Bruno today. It was right on the edge of the touchline and he just whacked it in and it was behind him and Bruno did something, fantastic little bit of movement and finished to get it in. But we're struggling to put attacks together and keep in the final third. And that's probably why we get finished as well. Like you said, someone said, I can't remember if it was Cam or Isaac, said we've got the busiest centre-backs. But it's probably because we can't keep the ball in the final third. All of our players are around the box. Two passes and they're in. Because we can't sustain the attacks. You've got Marcus Rashford. I nearly cried before when Donny van de Beek's on his left-hand side and there's 3 West Brom defenders and he dribbles into them. Why? And there's another, I think it was Luke Shaw to the left of him, and he has a shot. Why? What are you doing? He's like Nani.
Dan James does that and gets absolutely roasted. There was that one against Chelsea when Dan James came on.
Yeah.
Dribbling the pocket of defenders. When they had 2 choices, outside where there's no one there, or go inside. Went into the crowd and got absolutely ripped for it. Rashford does that, goes into a crowd of players rather than passing to Van de Beek, who's right next to him, and he won't get a word said about it because it's Marcus Rashford. The criticism is a bit one-sided at times from certain players. Let's be honest, guys. McFred won't bench Ndidi and Tielemans, yet they start for us.
No, they won't. No, they wouldn't. Not at all. Tielemans is one of the best midfielders in the league by a mile.
I think if you put Ndidi with either Fred or McTominay, probably with McTominay, they'd be a lot better than McFred right now. You just need one defensive midfielder in there, and they make the other one better because they're covering them properly and they're organising better and they're filling in the gaps. Right now, neither of those two are defensive mids. McTominay wants to get forward all the time. He used to be a striker.
Fred's never been a defensive mid ever in his career ever.
He's not a defensive mid, but I don't know what he does on the pitch.
Fred's not big enough to be a defensive mid at the Prem. You can't have. I don't think you can have. Okay, Kante, but the exception. You can't have a defensive mid in the Prem that's that small, in my opinion. He gets bullied by bigger midfielders physically. I quite like Fred. I think he does a lot of stuff. I think he's a fine ball winner. I think at times he can progress the ball fine, but it's not good enough to compensate for the fact that neither him nor McTominay are defensive midfielders. I don't think that's I don't want to levy that criticism on either of them individually. But
no, neither of them are. Well, you just need one in that space. It will make so much difference. But I don't know why the board aren't seeing it or whatever. But that's got to be the priority now because it'll make them play so much better.
Yeah, I don't want us to chase a really big money centre back this summer without first addressing that defensive mid issue and then addressing the right wing issue. I'd rather if we don't sign a centre back but we sign, say, Declan Rice and Jadon Sancho, I'll be happy. I'd say that's. I'd agree,
but if I'm being honest, I'd rather have Jack Grealish over Jadon Sancho.
As long as we get Declan Rice, I don't really mind.
To be honest,
The problem is Marcus Rashford's career.
This is the thing, though. Does he start over Jack Grealish? No. Does he start over Cavani or Martial at 9? No. Does he start over Mason Greenwood, really, on the right? No. Why is he getting played week in, week out? Why? Because he feeds kids and he's one of our own. I love the bloke. I want him to be the best in the world, but he's just not that good at the minute.
I gotta say, guys, I think you guys are being slightly harsh on Rashford. His outputs this season's been
it's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. His stats are amazing. His stats are amazing. Don't get me wrong. His stats are amazing. But it's like I can't describe it. He's like a five-a-side player. The way he gets his goals, it's like almost like just one shot and it'll just creep in. And he seems to manage to do that every single game. And it's crazy because he plays shit really for most of his games, and then he'll just come up and score a hat trick and hit a 9 out of 10 performance. And I'm like, oh my! I've said this to Cam thousands of times. As soon as I start doubting Marcus Rashford, he'll pull a 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
And look like the best in the world. And then for 5 games in a row, he'll look like shite again.
He's frustrating.
He keeps making stupid decisions, dribbling into players. I think QS said something earlier about Rashford. Yeah, not a fan of Rashford dancing on the ball time after time. We spoke about this, Dec. It was really, that was terrible. He spent so long on the ball. Just give it to Donny van de Beek. He's next to you.
But then, guys, today, I mean, I know Dec likes him, but today, honestly, my target would be Martial. I think he's just...
Martial was awful.
I mean, nothing.
Someone said somewhere here,
nothing.
I don't think he was actually found that much on the ball, to be honest, if I'm being serious.
I don't think he had any runs whatsoever behind the defense.
Off the ball as well, though. He wasn't offering anything. I mean,
defensively, he tracked back, which is about all you can say.
I think he's gone, by the way. I think he's gone.
Are we talking as in, do you think he's going to be shipped out?
Yeah, I reckon he's gone this summer, yeah. I reckon not that I want him to. I reckon he's gone, yeah. I do reckon he's going.
If we get Haaland, no complaints.
No, but we're not going to get Haaland. No way. City will have Haaland. It's absolutely nailed on. Nailed on. He's gone to City.
They're going to get Messi, play him as a false 9.
I thought Messi signed like £55 billion contract a day or something like that. Has he not signed?
That's his current contract that they were leaking. Right, McTominay has proven he can do the job. Ole just needs to play him properly. Look, he's proven he can get forward. He can drive forward on the ball. He can pass. He can beat a man when he's under pressure.
A fantastic ball carrier.
He's really, really good at ball carrying, but he needs someone alongside him who can pass. He's not the world's best passer. He's decent. He can switch the play, but he's not the world's best passer. Get someone alongside him who can do that. Get someone who can help him with a defensive role. Someone who can actually organise him, tell him where to be, and he'll be so much better. And it will actually give him the license to get forward. It makes a massive difference.
I'd say another issue with McTominay is that in games like today, his strong assets on. It's not the right environment for McTominay's strongest assets to shine. I mean, ball progression from midfield is the way that McTominay progresses the ball. He's a very good ball carrier, and that's very difficult when you're playing against a deep block. I mean, I'm not going to slate them for it, but West Brom, basically sat everyone behind the ball when they scored.
This for me. Sorry to interrupt you. I'll just quickly say this for me is why, for once, actually, I'm going to blame Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. His selection today was totally wrong. He picked a team as if we're going to play counter-attacking football against a top 6 side.
Yeah,
and we managed to get that top 6 draw as well that we've normally been getting. Why aren't you playing like? I know it's could be suicide, but play Donny van de Beek in that pivot just to progress the ball forward.
Or Matic needed to
just progress it. And sorry, Isaac, you continue what you were saying.
Oh no worries, man. I'd pretty much finished anyway. It's just. I agree. In a game like today, I mean, I think Ole said before the game. I think I know somebody said before the game. Everyone knew what West Brom were going to do today. It wasn't like they were going to surprise us and come all guns blazing. We all knew they were going to park men behind the ball. And I just looked at the McFred midfield and thought there's not enough progression there. There's not. No. I agree. Play Matic or play Van de Beek, but don't play McFred.
Right, I'm going to go out on a limb here. This will be very controversial. A lot of people may disagree, but Bruno Fernandes, he was poor today, but in general, I'm getting the feeling with Fernandes, he might be a bit like what Coutinho was for Liverpool, in that until he's definitely sort of a floor raiser of a player. So if the team are playing badly, he's that one to drag you over the line to scrape results, to get you there. But if you want a team that plays well consistently, he's like Coutinho was. He came up with some clutch goals, did some really good things. He was a fantastic player individually. But if you want the team to play well overall as a whole system, eventually you're going to have to replace him with someone who's much more consistent in terms of reliability, output, the things they do on the pitch. So I think long term, it might be that Donny van de Beek, Scott McTominay, and a defensive midfield player, or Pogba instead of McTominay, could well be our midfield going forward.
I think with Bruno Fernandes, I think he's almost been told, almost like on the quiet, right, these lots of shite, just do what you can, you've got some talent. I think if he went to, for example, if he went to City and Pep, look what he's done to Bernardo Silva. You could argue they were very much in the same mould when he was playing at Monaco. You know, he was scoring goals left, right and centre for fun. He was taking on players, you know, he was a free kick merchant, long shot merchant. Pep's turned him into a real intricate, almost like a Portuguese David Silva now in a way. And it's like, well, if I'm not going to compare Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to Pep. Pep's probably the best coach of all time. Coach, not manager, coach. So he can do that with players. But I would like to see Bruno Fernandes. I'm not saying we have no system, but I think our system it's Bruno ball. It's whatever Bruno wants and whatever Bruno does. And if we get a last gasp goal, fair enough. If he scores like he did today, fantastic goal. If he scores that goal against Everton, I don't think in Pep's system he would. If he took half as many amounts of shots, I'd be surprised that he does. I'd be surprised.
Yeah. I think Fernandes would struggle to get in that team, but you know who will get in that team, and possibly someone who does all those things that Ilkay Gundogan's doing and being so good at, but possibly even slightly better, Donny van de Beek. All About Football says Matic should have played to control midfield in the back four, then Van de Beek is an attacking box-to-box player. Look, at half-time, when we were doing so badly in that first half, I wanted Matic to start the game over Fred. I think him and McTominay would have been a better midfield. But at half-time, I think the way to do things would have probably been take off Fred, drop Bruno a bit deeper because he was coming deep to move the ball forwards anyway, and get Donny van de Beek on in the 10 role. Because Van de Beek, when he came on, he had some really nice touches, set up a few attacks, actually helped us get crosses in. He was a useful player on the pitch, whereas Fred was completely useless. So I think, Matic should have started. Whether Van de Beek started or not, I would like to see him come on earlier because you can play Bruno deeper, but there's no point having Fred on that pitch when he's doing nothing.
I mean, yeah, on the topic of Van de Beek, it just... I like him as a player. I think he strikes me as a bizarre... The way we're currently using him right now is bizarre because we're using him as sort of Bruno's understudy, and he's so different from Bruno, man. He's
so different from anyone, really.
You could not hope to find a more attacking midfielder that's more different from Bruno than Donny. I mean... Donny is Bruno is basically a walking risky pass. Like, you know, everything about Bruno's play is just risk. You know, he doesn't play the safe option ever. Whereas Donny's key strengths aren't so much in his passing or what he does on the ball. It's what he does off the ball that's so brilliant. And I almost think at times the rest of our team are not on his wavelength. The number of times I've seen Donny make a run and just think, you know, you've got to pass. That's got to be into Donny. And it's just not even seen him. It's either been sideways or they passed it forward to someone else in a much worse position.
I think it's the same when he's on the ball as well. Like, and it even drives me mad, and I've criticised him for this, which is probably in hindsight I shouldn't have done. But like, you look at him, I think it was against West Ham, he did it again. The ball came over the top to him, and he controls it, and he could have just banged it, and he might have scored because he's a great finisher. But he said he tries to play a really hard pullback to someone, and it just gets cut out. And I've seen him do that a few times. He's playing in the Ajax system. He's playing the Ajax way at Manchester United. It was trying to build a team and create an identity, and it's just, you can just see that.
I think if you play Van de Beek alongside, if you get Jadon Sancho and you play Sancho, Van de Beek and Bruno behind whatever striker, whether it's Martial, whether it's Cavani, it doesn't really matter. With Pogba behind that as well, you've got a serious team in that. You'll be creating chances for days and you'll be dominating the game because they're all on the same wavelength. They're all intelligent. They all move. And the only problem is you might end up with the ball going to feet all the time and no runs in behind. But if you get overlapping fullbacks, that's gone as well. But you need some sort of team that are all trying to play the same way. When you're playing Van de Beek with the likes of Rashford, who's constantly taking on players, not moving the ball quickly. Rashford passes the ball if he can't take on a player. Van de Beek needs to just pass that ball, move, pass it again, keep moving. And we've not got the players to do that right now.
I mean, what I'm hoping to see eventually, I'm not sure if we're ever going to see it under Ole, but under someone, is a midfield three of a defensive midfielder behind for Bruno and Van de Beek. To make that work, I'm kind of just going on the assumption here that Pogba's still leaving. But if Pogba doesn't leave, absolutely, put him in. But to do that right now would be pretty much suicide because I don't think we have the defensive.
Who'd you go and get though? Who'd you go and get?
It's hard because
there isn't anyone really that can do that job. I don't think in world football.
I mean, I think Declan Rice maybe one day could. I'm not sure if he
Maybe one
currently
day.
can. Ndidi can do all of the defensive stuff that you'd need. He's not a great ball progressor. That's the big problem with Ndidi. I mean, most of the progression from Leicester's midfield comes from Tielemans.
Well, it's kind of like what Matic is. Matic is basically just a guy that wins the ball back and passes it, wins it, pass, recycle. And that's why I always wanted a Matic Pogba pivot, because he wins the ball, passes it to Pogba, who progresses it. That's his game. Wins it, pass to Pogba, progress. Like you say, Ndidi wins it, pass to Tielemans, progress. Pass to Tielemans, progress. We don't really have. We just need Matic at 26 is what we need, really.
Yeah, Matic with some legs.
Mobile Matic would be ideal.
Yeah, so QS says you can't trust Fred and McTominay to ping a ball to Donny. Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. Fred and McTominay, as much as they have their uses today, they didn't really move the ball forwards. That's the problem. I think what we'll do now, boys, quick player ratings, go through the team quickly. Starting with David De Gea, for me, 7. Decent performance, made some really good saves, kept us in the game at times.
I'd agree
with that. 7.
Wan-Bissaka, Isaac?
I'm going to say 6. I don't think he was that bad. I think he put in a few decent crosses that got cut out, led to corners. He didn't really do anything particularly wrong. He didn't do anything particularly amazing, so I'd say 6.
Yeah, agreed. Dec?
I totally agree. I think actually he was quite solid at the back. He didn't make any errors, and I've been really, really critical of Aaron Wan-Bissaka. 6.
Victor Lindelof?
3.
Yeah, agreed.
3. Oh, I'm gonna say 4, because I don't think it was quite that bad. I think the first one was a foul, but then there was also more generally there was the fact that he got bullied, and also I believe there was that cross that came in. Diagne got another shot, which probably should have gone in, honestly, and Lindelof didn't cut it out. So yeah, no higher than 4.
Yeah. So okay, Luke Shaw. For me, I'll go 6. 7. I think
7 or 8 even. I think
Really?
Shaw was really good.
You got an assist as well.
He got an assist, yeah, and he was. I mean, I think someone on Twitter said he was the best player in both boxes first half for us. So good.
Oh, I've missed out Harry Maguire. So
Harry Maguire.
7 for Luke Shaw then. Harry Maguire, I think for me, I go 6 because I think in the first half he was doing 3 players' jobs. He's doing Martial's job, he's doing Fred's job. He was getting forward up the pitch. He was the only one moving that ball forward. He's the only player for about 50 minutes that wanted to move that ball forward up the pitch. Yes, he got bullied a couple of times defensively and could have done better, but for so long, he was the only one looking like a captain, actually trying to make United win the game. And there is something to be said for that, I think.
I'd agree 6, yeah.
Given that I've said 8 for sure, I'm going to go 7 for Maguire, just because the foul, again, you talk about the getting bullied by Diagne. If you watch that again, Diagne was basically giving him a prostate exam, shoving his finger up his arse. It's mental. It should have been given as a foul. I'm sorry. And other than that, he was one of our most progressive players in the first half, and could have won us the game at the end. It was a really good header, great save from Johnston. Given I've given an 8 to Shaw, I'm going to give a 7 to Maguire, but looks like 6 is the consensus.
Fair enough. I think that's possibly a little bit too high for a game where we get points. But yeah, Man United man says our big problem is Ollie has no plan B. That's why we see for substitutes, which means the tactics didn't change, only the personnel did. Yeah,
I think have the players for plan B though.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Dec.
We could have just brought on Van der Beek for Fred much earlier. That's a bit of a plan B, isn't it?
I kind of agree with Dec though. I think our squad is too much of a hodgepodge.
Yeah, that's true.
Make a consistent plan B. It still doesn't feel like we've got the players resembling a coherent system.
No. We're playing a striker out wide. We're playing 2. You could argue we're playing 2 strikers out wide, 3 at times.
Yeah. Right. Let's keep going. So Fred, for me, 4. I think he was really poor. Just ran around and offered nothing else the entire game.
4. I'd agree with that.
I'm going to give him a 5. I think I watched him closely after Cam messaged me and said he was shite, and I didn't think he didn't do too much wrong. He made some nice tackles, but I just think he was a bit of a nothing player. He just kept passing the easy pass, just straight forward.
There was one time when they were on the counter though, and Fred, rather than staying at his post, he comes to close down the player when he's obviously not going to get there, and just leaves open a space. I can't remember exactly when it was. It didn't lead to anything, but just something. It's just I'd say 4. I don't think Fred was particularly good.
For me, Scott McTominay 6. I think he was okay. I think he was better than Fred. I think he did in the second half, especially. He started to get forward a bit more and use his talent. He had one shot that was cleared off the line. Really nice sort of chest control to bring that down. Maybe that's you. You boys think that's a bit high? I'm guessing.
No, I'd give him a 6. But I'm just the reason I'm doing that is I don't think you give McTominay the same rating as Maguire. I mean,
yeah, I'm giving him a 5 because of that. Yeah, he was better than Maguire. Maguire was better than him. Sorry, yeah.
I'd say maybe a 5 just on the basis of what we're given. I'd give him a 6 personally. I don't think he was too bad, but
to be fair, consensus probably 5. Yeah. Next, left wing Martial 4 for me. What you boys said?
I'd give him a 4 as well. I'll give him a
4 as well.
I think that might be a bit generous, but 4. We'll give it 4.
Right, Dec, you're up first on Bruno Fernandes.
Bruno Fernandes. I'm going to give him a 5.
I mean, he got a really well-taken goal, and that got us the point that we did get.
Unlucky, isn't it? Play better. Unlucky for Bruno.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say 7, just because I mean I don't feel like I can ignore the goal, but
I feel like 7's a bit too high. I'd probably give him a 6.
I think if he didn't score that goal, he'd be getting a 3. I think he was that bad.
Oh yeah, no, he was pretty crap aside from the goal. I don't think 6 is too unfair, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough. Mason Greenwood. Actually, no, go Cavani first because he started rounding out the team. I think. No, it's Rashford. For me, Isaac, you go first on Marcus Rashford.
5. I think he was slightly better than Martial, but
I think I'd give Rashford either a 5 or a 4. Probably a 4.
Didn't really
I think
do much.
Actually, no, I think I'll go 5 because he did a few times. He did take on players, get a few players booked, won a few free kicks, but he did make a lot of bad decisions as well. So I think 5's probably fair. Some good stuff.
A few crosses in as well, a few not so good ones.
Yeah.
I'm just giving him the 5 because I gave Martial a 4, and I think Rashford was marginally better.
I'm going to give him a 4, but he's closer to a 3 than he is a 5. So
harsh, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think you were annoyed by that one at the end, weren't you?
I'm annoyed by a lot of things.
Are you talking about the one with the cross where it just came in and he doesn't even attack it? Oh,
there's 3 players there in front of him, and there's Van der Beek still left him, and he just runs into the players.
Oh god, no! But it was the cross that came in. I can't remember. I think it was Greenwood. Brilliant cross, like literally right across the face of goal. And Rashford's just not even there, nowhere.
Yeah,
like, he just runs into that. Yeah, he just even blindly runs into it. It's a goal.
Yeah, it's just lazy, right? Edinson Cavani for me 5. Don't think he did too much. He was
5.
Average performance at best.
Yeah, 5.
Didn't do anything.
Okay, now the subs. Dec, you're up first on Donny van de Beek.
I'm not. You see, I'm just going to make this a bit long-winded. Really wanting Donny van de Beek, I was made up. I was thinking, yes, it's the type of signing Manchester United should be making. I know he hasn't had a run of games. I'm just not overly enamoured with how he plays. I'm just not. When he played against Crystal Palace, I thought we were in for a world beater. His passing range over 3 feet is just non-existent. He can't pass a ball over 3 feet. He didn't do anything wrong today, but I'm not his biggest fan at the moment. 5, no 4. I just didn't do anything.
I'd say that's harsh. I'm going to give him a.
I don't care.
I don't know. I'm going to piss Dec off here. I want to give him. I almost want to give him a 7, but I'm going to say 6 because I feel like.
I can get giving him a 6, but how could you give him a 7 when he to be fair, how could you give him a 4 when he didn't touch the ball? So I'm going to change my thing to a 5 because I just think he just didn't touch the ball.
I think he did touch the ball.
But I don't even give him a 7. What did he do?
I mean, the problem with Donny is that you shouldn't be playing him if you want a progressive passer. He never has been that. At Ajax, he was not a progressive passer. As I was saying, his strengths don't come primarily from what he does on the ball. It's what he does off it. And our team just is not on that wavelength. We don't have any other great movers off the ball. I think Bruno is pretty good, in fairness to him, most of the time. But Cavani's
Cavani, obviously.
Great. Yeah, no, Cavani's movement off the ball is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Greenwood is amazing as well. You just don't see it because how can he move off the ball when he's on the right wing all the time?
Yeah.
You look at his runs against Watford. Oh my god.
Right, yeah. For me, Van der Beek 6. Mason Greenwood, I'll give him a 7. I think when he came on, I think Greenwood was probably the best player on the pitch. Any disagreements with that, or?
Nope.
I'd probably just say 7.5. I just think he was unlucky not to score as well. He had one cleared off the line, didn't he?
Gary Neville was talking shit. He's saying that he should have done better with that chance. Absolute bullshit, man.
Oh,
It was a
how
difficult
can you
chance.
do better with that?
It was
On the
such a
volley,
difficult
keeping
chance.
it down.
People just think that every shot should be a goal, man. Like,
Yeah.
but I'd say 7 Greenwood. Arsenal 4-0 up. Fuck.
Yeah, playing Leeds. So I mean,
Yeah,
not too surprising.
Are they actually 4-0 up?
Yeah,
Christ
52
alive.
minutes. Ago.
Oh my god.
Right, who's next? It's Real Sociedad. So if anyone's still watching, get excited on TikTok. I'll be dropping some clips of my chat with Adnan Januzaj this time last year. So get excited.
Adnan Skranazaj.
Sorry?
Adnan Skranazaj.
Yeah. Get excited for a bit of Skranazaj action on over on TikTok.
I think we could have fucking
until
done
then,
Januzaj today.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't even get it.
It would have helped, yeah. Simple tactic. Pogba's injured. Play Bruno next to Matic and push Van der Beek as a second striker. Bruno's discipline on deep. Played there against Wilson's debut. Yeah, I think Bruno could definitely play deeper if we get, I don't know. Yeah, well, whilst Pogba's injured, yeah, fair enough. Completely agree with that. We should try that. Give that a go. Now, predictions for Real Sociedad. What are we saying?
Oyarzábal's out, isn't he? So that's a plus because he's been
That
our
is a
best
plus.
player.
Yeah.
Who else have they got that's good?
Januzaj, Alexander Isaac's been all right.
All right, Mikel
Isaac,
Marino, I
yeah.
think, has had a good season in
Marino,
the centre
yeah.
mid. Absolutely crap at Newcastle. It's really weird what's happened.
Yeah.
Florian.
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll rest a lot of players because Ole said, the way he's been talking about this Europa League game, he said it's an opportunity to rest players. He said we get 2 bites of the cherry, so if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I think we'll lose this first leg, 2-1. Personally,
I'm gonna say 2-2 draw. I don't back us to keep a clean sheet, but
no.
I'm gonna say 3-1 United.
we like to see
Apparently,
that.
Oyarzábal is fit, so yeah.
I thought he was out for
no,
like
yeah,
4
I
weeks.
think I saw. No, I think Oyarzábal has been in training. I'm pretty sure he's been in training, so I think he's.
I heard he
he's
was
fit.
injured a week or so
Yeah,
ago.
I thought he was
They've also got Isaac up front. The Swedish guy.
Alexander Isaac. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He was a good player.
All About Football says finally this is going to go bad to us. Europa League football on Thursday and Premier League on Sunday. That's going to ruin our top 4. Look, I mean, it's one of those things you got to deal with. There's a reason Ole's going to rotate, and I think it's a chance for some of the players to step up and actually give these lads in the first team a bit of a kick, particularly like Sir Fred and Scott McTominay if they keep not being able to pass the ball forwards. So we'll see. Oh yeah, of course, David Silva.
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh,
David
yeah?
Silva. I don't forget
Well,
that.
I'll tell you what, I can't believe we forgot David Silva.
Yeah.
I think Rashford needs a bit of competition. To be honest, I think maybe that might give him a kick up the backside.
Honestly, play Dan James. I don't dislike Dan James. Honestly, just give him a run out. I think he's been fine when he played this season. I don't think he's been that bad.
The way Marcus Rashford plays, there's actually not that much in it. The way he's playing at the minute, so.
George Saunders, cheers.
Oh, I like you, Ordinator. But I'm a big fan of My Cock Smells Grin from Lille, I think, and your Dar Selzavon. So I've seen the TikToks, Mr. George Sanders. I've seen them.
I've seen Robbie getting baited. Love a bit of Don Robbie. Right, well, cheers boys for coming on today. Been a decent stream. Poor result though. Thanks for everyone watching, and yeah, see you again for Thursday night. Hopefully, Real Sociedad.
Yeah, we'll see you then.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.